butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Hello and welcome to Disney Movie Investigation. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. This is an episode of our bonus series as we reflect on the shows that we remember growing up. On this episode, we go back to the world of reading and imagination as we take a look at the PBS series Reading Rainbow. And if you are enjoying these videos, please do hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified whenever we release a new video. But for now, sit back and enjoy this episode of Disney Movie Investigation, Saturday Morning Edition. So like I said, today we are covering Reading Rainbow. This was created by Cecilia Tiruet-Lancet, Larry Lancet, Twyla Tiggett, Lila Gannett, and Tony Batuno, and it was an executive producers of LeVar Burton and Twyla Liggett. This original series aired from July 11th, 1983 till November 10th, 2006, with a total number of episodes of 155. This aired on PBS from 1983 to 1999, and then on PBS Kids from 1999 to 2006. But first, let's take a look at the history of Reading Rainbow. In 1978, a survey by the Book Industry Study Group reported that 75% of people under 21 would read books. 6 years later, that number would drop down to 63%. Twyla Tiggett, who was hired in ETV in Nebraska to create an original kids programming that would be distributed to classrooms. At the same time, Tony Batuno, an executive of WNED in Buffalo, began researching how children during the summer vacations would not be reading, and when school started in September, teachers would have to spend 2 to 3 weeks getting the children's skills in reading back to snuff. Batuno would hear from teachers as well that there was a need for a summer reading program that would get kids excited about reading during the summer. Their original idea of Reading Rainbow was to create a summer series program for inner city kids who could not afford to go to summer camp, but to remain interested in reading. Liggett and Batuno would collaborate to develop a summer TV program into getting kids into reading. They saw it as a follow-up to Sesame Street, who would get the children to learn the letters in Sesame Street, and their program would get the kids to develop a love of reading. Producing couple Cecilia and Lancet, then based in New York, would come in to assist in producing a kids show on a budget, as they had done so successfully with Sesame Street. Taking inspiration from Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the idea of Reading Rainbow was born. PBS agreed to fund half of the first 15 episodes of season 1. The rest of the funding, however, would have to come from corporate sponsors. Liggett was able to get Kellogg's to come on board to fund the rest of the show. Now the search was started to find a suitable host. Jackie Torrance was originally slated to host, but producers wanted to have a male because they wanted a male role model, as boys typically had a greater degree of reading loss. Scott Baio and Bill Cosby were considered before producers saw LeVar Burton, who was a regular on the series' Roots. Once approached, Burton loved the idea and quickly signed on. The next step was then to choose the books that would be featured on the show. Initially, 67 books were considered for the first season, making sure that each of the books would be readily available across the country for kids to pick up on their own. Producers ended up using mostly unknown authors because they ran into trouble of publishers wanting too much money for their books to be featured on the show. This would be reduced heavily as Reading Rainbow became popular, as it actually got flipped around, where the producers would be asking Reading Rainbow to feature their books on the show. Lance Media would handle the filming of the books to make them visually interesting, while the celebrity narrator would tell the story. Such celebrity narrators in the episodes that I watched would include Julia Child, Kermit the Frog was a celebrity narrator, Gilda Radner. So they got a lot of local celebrities, mostly in the New York area. The pilot was shot in New York, with the first book being Gila Monster Meets You at the Airport, and this episode aired on July 11, 1983. So now that we know how the show got created, let's look at the show itself. So each episode would feature a different children's book that would also serve as the theme of the show. The reading of the book would naturally be narrated by a celebrity, and the illustrations would be scanned with a technique called iconographic animation. Basically, it's limited animation where they scan the illustrations and they do slight movements. Each page would be shown in succession so that the child could follow along at home. After the story, Burton would then visit a place that would relate to the theme of the story. Burton would also interview guests that related to the theme of the subject as well. An example of one of the shows that I rewatched in preparation was on Bees and Honey, and Burton visited a bee colony and then interviewed the head beekeeper. The last segment of the show was a series of book reviews where children would review a book that was centered around the theme of the show. So let's look at why the show was canceled. The show would continue until 2006, picking up 26 Emmy Awards throughout the original run. The reason that the show was canceled was because of lack of funding that PBS could no longer support the show. The creation of the No Child Left Behind Act, which placed restrictions on PBS on how they could allocate funds for educational programming. The show aired its final episode on November 10th, 2006, but it would continue in reruns until 2009. LeVar Burton would announce on his Twitter feed on March 19th, 2010, that Reading Rainbow 2.0 was in the works. In 2011, WNED, the Buffalo's PBS affiliate that owns the rights to Reading Rainbow, would license the rights to Burton and his newly formed company, RR Kids. In June 13th of 2012, Burton and his business partner, Mark Wolf, launched the Reading Rainbow app at Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference. This app was launched on June 30th, 2012, and within 36 hours became the world's leading educational app. In January of 2014, the app actually surpassed 10 million books read and video field trips watched within 18 months. Burton, trying to keep going with the success, then started a Kickstarter campaign on May 28th of 2014 to revive the show and to secure materials. In under 12 hours, the fund had reached over $1 million, and the goal was to create a website and an educational version for schools to use for free. Celebrity endorsements also helped with this, as Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane would also add $1 million to the Kickstarter campaign as well. The result of the Kickstarter campaign was the Skybrary by Reading Rainbow, which was a subscription-based service. In March of 2016, the Skybrary for Schools was launched, and integrated materials covered in school curriculums would be sent to schools. WNED, however, would file a lawsuit in August of 2017 that demanded Burton hand over administrative access to websites and social media accounts containing the Reading Rainbow brand. On October 2017, Burton and WNED would settle out of court, and the show was rebranded LeVar Burton Kids. WNED announced that in November of 2018, they were looking to relaunch their own new Reading Rainbow programming thanks to a donation of $200,000 from the John R. Osahi Foundation. And eventually Skybrary was acquired by Reading is Fundamental in 2019. So memories of the show. I remember loving the show as a kid, as I'm always been a big fan of reading. I love reading. People who know me always know that I have a book in my bag or a book around me. I like the different adventures that LeVar would go on, and they would range. I like the range of them, from exploring zoos to hiking in a bat cave to learning how pasta is made, a wide range of variety, and I thought it was relatable to the kids. The show definitely has a short shelf life, as the books were always a low-level reading ability, so I think kids would quickly outgrow the show, unfortunately, but I think it was a great way for kids to get excited about reading. If you do want to watch a lot of the episodes, they are on YouTube, as well as collections can be purchased on iTunes. So thank you so much for joining us here on Disney Movie Investigation Saturday morning. If you would be interested, if you're interested, I would love to hear see your comments below about what what memories you have of reading Rainbow. Please leave a comment below on what you remember best. So our next Saturday morning bonus show will be in a couple weeks, as we are going to look at a modern favorite as we go to the kingdom of Corona as we look at Tangled, the series. So until next time, I hope you have a magical day, and we will see you real soon.